You know that feeling when you buy one new thing and suddenly everything else you own looks terrible? Like you finally upgrade your phone and now your scratched up case looks embarrassing, so you buy a new case. But then your old charger doesn't fast charge anymore, so you grab a new one. And while you're at it, those wireless earbuds would pair perfectly with the new setup. You walked into the store for one phone and walked out having replaced half your life. And the weirdest part, each purchase felt completely logical in the moment. None of them felt like overspending. Every single one felt like a necessary upgrade. But somehow you just spent $600 more than you planned, and you're not entirely sure how it happened. There's a name for this, and once you understand it, you'll never look at your spending the same way again. Most financial advice tells you that overspending is a discipline problem. You just need more willpower. Track your budget, delete the shopping apps, stop buying lattes. Basically, just be a stronger person and your spending will magically fix itself. But here's what they completely miss. Your overspending often isn't about weakness at all. It's about a psychological chain reaction that was identified over 250 years ago by a French philosopher, and it's so powerful that billion-dollar companies literally design their entire business models around it. It's called the Diderot Effect, and it's quietly draining your bank account every single month without you even realizing it. I'm the voice behind Next Gen Finance Guide, and I'm borderline obsessed with understanding why smart people make terrible money decisions. Not the obvious mistakes everyone warns you about, the invisible psychological patterns that hijack your spending before your rational brain even gets a vote. If understanding the real mechanics behind your financial behavior sounds useful to you, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up changing how you see your next purchase, because I promise you it will. So let me give you the quick backstory, because it's actually fascinating. In 1765, a French philosopher named Denis Diderot was living in near poverty. Then, out of nowhere, he received a large sum of money. One of the first things he bought was a beautiful scarlet robe. Gorgeous thing, he loved it. But the moment he put it on and looked around his study, everything else looked shabby in comparison. His old chair didn't match the robe. His desk looked worn out next to it. His curtains seemed faded. His bookshelves felt cheap. So he started replacing things, one by one. The chair, the desk, the curtains, the art on the walls. By the time he was finished, he had spent far more than intended and was nearly broke again. He literally wrote an essay about the experience called Regrets on Parting with My Old Dressing Gown. And here's why this matters 250 years later. You are doing the exact same thing, constantly. You just don't have a scarlet robe. You have a new couch. Think about it this way. Imagine you have a shelf of books that you've collected over the years. They're a little worn, a little mismatched, but they're yours, and they've never bothered you. Now, someone gives you one beautiful leather-bound edition. Suddenly, the paperbacks next to it look embarrassing. You didn't hate them yesterday, nothing about them changed, but the new edition created a new internal standard that made everything around it feel inadequate. That's the Diderot effect. One upgrade creates a new internal standard, and suddenly everything below that standard feels broken, even though it was perfectly fine 24 hours ago. But here's where it gets really interesting and, honestly, a little disturbing. The Diderot effect isn't just about aesthetics or matching your stuff. It's about identity. Psychologists call this consumption complementarity. When you buy something new, especially something that feels like an upgrade, it doesn't just change what you own. It changes how you see yourself. That new couch isn't just furniture. It's a signal that you're the kind of person who has nice things. And once your brain adopts that identity, every other possession gets measured against it. Your brain starts whispering. A person with this couch wouldn't have that coffee table. Someone who wears these shoes wouldn't carry that bag. A person who drives this car wouldn't live in that apartment. Each purchase isn't really about the object. It's about maintaining the story your brain is telling about who you are, and that story gets more expensive with every chapter. Research from the Journal of Consumer Research confirms this. They found that people don't buy products in isolation. They buy them in clusters that reflect a desired identity. One purchase creates psychological pressure to align everything else with that new identity level. It's not a spending problem, it's an identity cascade. Now let's talk about what this actually costs you, because the numbers are genuinely shocking. Let's say you buy a new couch for $1,200. Nice, reasonable purchase. But the Diderot effect kicks in. The old rug doesn't match, so you replace it for $400. The throw pillows look dated now, so there goes another $150. The coffee table clashes, so you upgrade for $350. And the lamp in the corner suddenly looks like it belongs in a college dorm, so you swap it for $200. Your $1,200 couch just became a $2,300 living room renovation. You almost doubled your spending, and every single purchase after the first one felt like a logical necessity, not an impulse buy. Now multiply this pattern across your entire life. Wardrobe upgrades that cascade from one new jacket, kitchen renovations that spiral from one new appliance, tech setups that expand from one new device. Conservatively, the average person loses $3,000 to $5,000 per year to Diderot spirals without ever categorizing it as overspending. Over 10 years, at an 8% investment return, that's roughly $43,000 to $72,000 in lost wealth from purchases that didn't even feel like mistakes when you made them. That's a down payment on a house, gone, absorbed into throw pillows and matching lampshades. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I genuinely needed those things. My old rug was falling apart. The coffee table was scratched up. These weren't impulse buys. And honestly, you might be right about some of them. I'm not saying every secondary purchase is wasteful, but here's the question worth asking. Would you have replaced that rug this month if you hadn't bought the new couch? Would the coffee table have bothered you at all last week? If the answer is no, then the purchase wasn't driven by need. It was driven by the new standard that your first purchase created. The rug was fine until the couch made it not fine. That distinction is everything. So, how do you actually break this pattern? And this is the part most people never hear because it goes against everything consumer culture teaches you. The first step is recognizing the trigger purchase. Every Diderot spiral has a first domino. One item that resets your internal standard and makes everything else feel inadequate. Before you buy anything significant, ask yourself one question. What else will this make me want to replace? If the answer is nothing, buy it freely. If the answer is a list of 3 or 4 other things, you're not buying a product. You're buying the first ticket in a very expensive chain reaction. The second step is what I call intentional mismatching. This sounds ridiculous, but it's genuinely powerful. Deliberately keep things that don't match your newest purchase. Let the old coffee table sit next to the new couch. Carry the old bag with the new shoes. Use the scratched up case on the new phone. What you're doing is training your brain to decouple your identity from your possessions. You're proving to yourself that you can own something nice without needing everything else to rise to the same level. And that skill, the ability to resist identity-driven spending cascades, is worth tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Look, Denis Diderot figured this out in 1765 and still couldn't stop himself. He literally wrote about the trap while sitting in the middle of it, so don't feel bad if this pattern sounds familiar. The fact that you now have a name for it means you can see it coming, and seeing it coming is 90% of beating it. The next time you buy something new and suddenly everything around it feels old and inadequate, pause, recognize the spiral before it starts. Ask yourself whether you're buying because you need to or because one purchase rewired your standard without your permission. Your future self isn't going to remember the matching throw pillows, but they're absolutely going to notice the $72,000 that either compounded in their investment account or disappeared into a lifestyle upgrade that nobody else even noticed. This is Next Gen Finance Guide. If this shifted how you think about spending even slightly, subscribe, because we break down the psychology behind money every single week. I'll see you in the next one.